Tonight on CTV News, a house fire hero talks saving her neighbour, the art gallery development's nearing completion, and meet a man who's tackling bullying one country at a time. Kia ora, good evening. The government's being urged to do more regarding problems of rising sea levels. It comes as a new report surfaced recommending solutions, with the previous coastal hazards report being dropped. A report released by the Environment Parliamentary Commissioner says councils and communities have a difficult task ahead of them. The report contains 8 recommendations to the government, but the first 7 focused on improving the direction and advice given to councils by both Environment and Conservation Ministers. It's been an ongoing issue for Christchurch, including the Kapiti Coast, tackling coastal hazards issues. But the city's Coastal Residents United group welcomes the new report.
Well, look, we're very happy with it, and we hope that the report will be adopted by government and recommended that councils follow this process.
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has projected the sea around New Zealand will rise about 30 centimetres in the next 50 years. It'll continue to rise for centuries to come, but how rapidly will rise is uncertain.
One of the major points coming out of the report is that there's no need to hurry the process, that climate change isn't going to overwhelm us in the next month or two or a year or two, and that we should take our time to make sure we get the process correct.
Christchurch has close to 10,000 homes, 200 businesses and just over 200 kilometres of roads, which are 1.5 metres or less above sea level. This map indicates the extent of the sea level rise, and of all New Zealanders living within 1.5 metres above the sea level, 23% are in Canterbury, more than any other place around the country. The last recommendation calls for the Minister of Finance to establish a working group to assess and prepare for the economic impacts. A Linwood woman's lucky to be alive after her house went up in flames. It was one quick-thinking neighbour who's become a hero. Andrew King reports.
One up Kerr was sitting at home watching TV in her Linwood home when her daughter told her she could see flames coming from the rear flat.
I'm not very sure she's inside or not. I did see the flame, the flame through the window.
She ran to the front door of the house, but didn't know if the neighbour was home at the time.
Jan, get up! Fire!
Neighbour Jan came to the door confused and tried to re-enter the house.
My daughter, we pulled her out and she nearly worried inside. She still want to go back, and Jonina pulled her out, put her out, because she nearly in sleep. She don't know what's going on, and her brain doesn't picking up straight because little. I don't know how she feel, and she still want to go back in to maybe she say her daughter say want to go to get blanket to stop a fire or something like that.
She's only known Jan for about 6 months, but it didn't stop her running to her aid. Jan and her daughter came around to Miss Kerr's house this morning and dropped off a bouquet of flowers to say thanks. The rescued woman was not injured and will be staying with her daughter in the meantime. Andrew King, CTV News.
A milestone for the art gallery today, with the final touches on the strengthened foundations nearly complete, with the art gallery set to open next month. Chelsea Daniels has more.
The art gallery steps closer to its official opening date in December, with the completion of the base isolation work. Mayor Leanne Dowzell marked the ceremony today by cutting the final piece of concrete, along with gallery director Jenny Harper.
We just can't wait to see families and the people of Christchurch enjoying their collections again. They've been in store now for 5 years.
And she says it's something Christchurch needs to make the city complete.
We talk quite easily about the value for tourism and the economic value, but I think people in a city need culture, need cultural value.
The building had to be transformed from a conventional reinforced concrete building into a building which now floats on 140 pendulum-based isolating bearings.
Those bearings, in the event of an earthquake, they dissipate the energy from the shaking, and reduce the accelerations that those in the building and of course the artworks experience.
Mr. Hardy says it quickly became evident that this was not just another cosmetic repair.
We've had in the order of 200 people working here on the tools at any one time, and a great deal of people in the background designing and enabling all of the work, as well as a lot of fabrication off-site.
And their hard work, which costs around $15 million, won't even be seen by the public. The art gallery is due to open to its fullest next month.
I think when this reopens, it will have an extra layer probably of spiritual meaning, or it'll be a place to reflect, it'll be a place to get away from the rest of the realities of life.
The project's $56.6 million budget is on track and on time, with the gallery coughing up about $900,000 of its own. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Well, still to come, Andrew's back with your neighbourhood news. Welcome back to CTV News. Christchurch dog owners could be slapped with a hefty fine if they don't carry a bag or something similar to pick up after their dog. The new rules are part of a proposed change to the City Council's dog control bylaw, aimed at making the rules simpler and easier to enforce. Under current rules, dog owners can now be fined up to $300 for failing to clean up after their dog. But under the new rules, owners could be given the same fine just for not having a bag on them. People will have a chance to have their say on the new rules earlier next year before they're finalised. Well, an international speaker is in Christchurch discussing the shocking truth around bullying. He hopes to make a change in society, with New Zealand having some of the worst youth suicide statistics in the world. He's travelled over from across the ditch to talk bullying, highlighting some disturbing statistics happening in our own backyard.
New Zealand is #1 per capita in the world for teen suicide. It is #2 in the world per capita for school bullying. It is #1 in the world per capita for deaths amongst young males 15 to 24. And psychological research has been delivered right around the world. One research had 39 countries involved, and it stated that over 80% of all suicides, bullying is the #1 contributing factor.
Murray's a well-known anti-bullying campaigner back in Australia, working with countless numbers of young people to help stop bullying, both at school and online. But this isn't his first trip to the region. He was over earlier this year speaking to Canterburyans about New Zealand's bullying culture.
We delivered seminars to schools in Christchurch to stop bullying and educate parents, teachers and students on what is bullying, why people bully and how they can stop it. And so this is the response, coming in and speaking to some schools, doing a community event to highlight what we do.
He's been working with youth for over 20 years, helping to establish the organisation Make Bullying History, pushing for change.
The biggest thing is understanding what bullying is and what bullying is not. And bullying is long-term, ongoing violence, threats of violence or antagonisation. It's not just one-off incidences, and that's the biggest differentiating factor. And then once we understand, okay, what bullying is, the next step is to understand, well, why? What's the why behind the what? Why do people feel like they need to disempower others?
His goal is to empower young people through presentations and providing seminars for parents and teachers.
We need families to step up and say, okay, it's up to us to make a difference and stop this from happening, because bullying should not be a part of life. If we sit there and have the, it's all too hard kind of attitude, then it's just going to get worse. You keep sweeping stuff under the rug, eventually it builds up, and then you have to deal with it, and it's a bigger mess to clean up. So it's time, I think, we band together and say, okay, enough's enough. Enough lives have been lost. Enough young people are living in despair. Let's band together. Let's do something.
He's continuing a number of talks today throughout the city, but he'll be back in February to spread the word further throughout Canterbury. Voting papers for the first flag referendum will be sent out tomorrow, with residents having until today to be enrolled to vote. Flags have been flying around the city, with supporters of various designs showing their preferences. The current New Zealand flag won't be an option this time round. The winning design from this first referendum vote will go up against the current New Zealand flag in the second referendum in March next year. The first vote runs until December 11. Well, now let's cross to Andrew King in the newsroom with what's happening in your neighbourhood.
Thanks, Jared. The Fendalton Post Shop will close next Friday, but will be back in the new year just 600 metres down the road. New Zealand Post is in final talks with the Christchurch City Council to move the postal services from Memorial Ave to the Fendalton Service Centre on the corner of Clyde and Jeffreys Road. PO boxes will be shifted to the Referendum Post Shop on December 14. But a new location could not be found for Kiwibank services, which will close permanently next Friday. It's been a rocking good year for drummer Bede Barry. The Burnham 18-year-old recently passed his Trinity College London Grade 8 music exam with distinction. Barry is part of Lincoln High School band Aotearoa, which made it into the final 20 bands of the National Smoke-Free Rock Quest competition earlier this year. He says he was pleased and surprised to have done so well in the exam. A patch of land next to the Referendum railway line is about to look bloom and wonderful. Flowers and murals of art will be combined to create a picture-perfect scene near Nancy's Corner on Referendum Road. Site manager of 35 Referendum Road, Graham Clark, said the idea was inspired from work done by the Deans Ave Precinct Society along the eastern side of the railway. The project is likely to evolve over the next several years, depending on how the plants adapt. New Brighton Beach has just become more accessible for those in wheelchairs. As of November 28, 2 beach wheelchairs will be permanently based at New Brighton at no cost. A beach wheelchair looks like a regular wheelchair but has much larger wheels so it can move over the sand. Surf Community Trust and Smile Dial worked in partnership to bring the chairs to New Brighton, which will be located behind the New Brighton Mall, behind Ray White Real Estate. A Rawati School music video starring headbanging sock puppets caught the attention of Weta Workshop. Rawati School's Room B3 won the top award at Weta Workshop's Media and Design Excellence competition held in Tauranga recently. The judges were from Weta Workshop, who are behind special effects in blockbuster films such as the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Mad Max Fury Road and the Amazing Spider-Man movies. From the newsroom, I'm Andrew King.
Thanks for that, Andrew. After more than a year in the pipeline, designs for a controversial new bus passenger lounge on Riccarton Road's been released. The concept shows the bus exchange will include a 40-metre square lounge area designed to hold up to 40 people at a time. The designs still need to be approved by the Infrastructure Transport Committee, Environment Canterbury and the Christchurch City Council before they can be finalised. Well, still to come here on CTV News, more on Richie McCaw's retirement and your region's weather forecast. Welcome back to CTV News. Now here's Warren Head with the latest business news.
I'm Warren Head from headliner.co.nz. Another week and another deal by EBOS Group, this fabulous business that's over in Addington, Christchurch. You'll see their building from the raceway next time you go to the track. What have they done? They bought a company called Red Seal. Now, you know Red Seal very well. You see it every time you go to the supermarket on the shelves. I hope it's on the shelves in the supermarkets or in one of the health stores nearby. It's in the business of vitamins and minerals and supplements and non-fluoride toothpaste and things like that. Anyway, it cost them $80 million to buy the company. And they're quite confident they'll be able to expand the Red Seal product across their multiple markets, and I'm sure they shall. In the local context in terms of shopping, since we're on that topic, one of the things I look forward to about this time of the year are the results from Kiwi Property Group. It used to be called Kiwi Income, but it's now Kiwi Property. And they, of course, own most of the very big shopping centres around New Zealand that are not owned by the Westfield Group from Australia. In Auckland, it's Sylvia Park, which is the biggest shopping centre in that part of the country, and Lynn Mall and places like that. Down here, it's Northlands. Northlands, of course, is big. Anytime you walk from one end to the other, you know that. But did you know that they are getting about $8,000 a square metre in the 6-month period off their sales in Northlands to the tenants? Now, this shows you the power of how much money is going across the tills in that shopping centre. It comes back on the other side through Kiwi property. A stock you can own, if you like, by simply ringing a stockbroker and buying some. And then you have a little bit of that action. The other thing that caught my eye was a result coming through from Sanford, the seafood company. They took a very big write-down. Their profit was just under 14 million after they took about almost that in terms of impairment charges. And deeply embedded in their result notes was a reference to some of the problem areas where green shell mussels was facing environmental challenges which impacted on the mussel growth rates, and the reduced supply of mussels led to them, of course, recall consolidating their South Island operations into Havelock and cutting back some operating assets here in Christchurch. Down south, some good news for Central Otago and everybody from Christchurch who goes down there for a holiday. They have announced today there's to be a new gondola which will be going up to the Remarkables ski field, up to the base there from the Remarkables Park Town Centre. It's going to be a whopper, it's going to be world class, it's going to cost a pretty penny, but it should be operating within the next couple of years or so. I'm looking forward to that. I'm Warren Head from headliner.co.nz.
Sounds good indeed. Thanks so much for that, Warren. Now here's Gordon Finlater with CTV Sport.
Well, the big news that everyone was anticipating came earlier today, with legendary All Blacks captain Richie McCaw announcing his retirement from the professional game. I caught up with the man who was lucky enough to not only play with, but also coach McCaw, and he could see his potential from the word go.
He was brought in just like all the young academy guys. They come in and they train with him. You could tell straight away that he was we had someone very capable on our hands here, and if anything, he was quite disruptive at training because he kept stopping the flow because he was killing the ball all the time. But I think he sort of got sorted out a little bit without going overboard or anything.
And that tenacity at the breakdown was just one of the things that made McCaw a treat to then coach.
The games I always remember are the ones where, even for the Crusaders, it's when we've been under the pump and not playing well. You go back and obviously you're disappointed with the loss and the performance. You go back and look at his performance. Sometimes I just wish we had 23 of him every single week, and you'd never lose a game because you may lose a game, but you'd be committed. You'd put everything into it, and I think that speaks volumes for him and the way he approaches life. He's full on or nothing.
Blackadder also touched on the sad loss of All Black legend Jonah Lomu. Blackadder had the privilege of captaining Jonah, something he definitely preferred to going up against the explosive winger.
The only thing I used to fear was with that we used to throw that little speed bump called Andrew Mertens in front of him, hoping that he'd trip over him, because no one could tackle him. I tell you what, when you had Jonah and Joel, even Derry running at you like it was a bloody nightmare. But he was feared, wasn't he? When he had the ball, there's no one more destructive than him. He's just so big and powerful. You just hope you got him on an off day.
And he will definitely be missed. Well, finally tonight we end on a truly positive story about one young man's journey from disaster to representing his country on the world stage. Cody Everson has just returned from England representing New Zealand in wheelchair rugby. Travelling the world playing sport is something the talented local may not have imagined possible after becoming a tetraplegic following a misfortunate tackle while playing first 15 rugby for Shirley Boys.
I had a lot of friends and family help me out while I was in hospital, so I had to stay positive the whole time really because they were staying positive for me. And I found wheelchair rugby and I haven't looked back since.
Just a few years later, Everson had the opportunity of representing his country, something not accomplished without years of hard work.
Training 6 days a week. At the moment I'm doing a 9-week sort of training plan before we go into camp, and that involves training twice a day. That's gym in the morning or gym in the afternoon, and then jumping in my rugby chair and actually coming down here and doing sprints and things like that.
The sport sees players take up different roles in the team. Everson is a blocker, his strength doing the dirty work.
I'm pretty much the guy out there who's going out to take whoever I can out, and as soon as I've got someone, I'm going to hold them as long as I can. And you can see with my chair, I've got the pick bar just here. So that's pretty much for me just to take out whoever's closest. And then you've got the higher pointers, and they're the ones who carry the ball, and they pretty much get all the glory and score all the points, and I pretty much sit behind the scenes and do my job there.
And Cody has been rewarded for his efforts, nominated in the Courage in Sport category at next month's Attitude Awards.
It's pretty cool, people noticing, I guess, what you're doing. Like, I don't look at myself as being a courageous person. I just look at myself being someone who loves to play sport and wants to be the best at it.
Everson will find out if he gets the award at the ceremony held in Auckland on December 3rd. Well, you're up to date with the latest in local sport. I'm Gordon Findlater for CTV Sport.
Thanks so much for that, Gordon. Now it's time for your region's weather forecast with Mercy.
Thanks, Jared. Well, we saw those really strong northerly winds today, especially for inland places and northeasterlies along the coast. Sunny nonetheless, but the highs were a little bit colder than we predicted. It was actually 17 there for Waimate and Timaru. Central Canterbury, Christchurch a little bit colder than 17. You actually only got to 15 today. Akaroa on 16 there, 17 for Leeston, Ashburton and Darfield. Heading further north now, Kaikoura, your high only on 14 today, so a little bit chilly for you. Hamner Springs, a bit warmer, 19 was your high there, 17 for Cheviot, Amberley and 16 for Rangiora. Arthur's Pass, you took out 14 degrees today and 16 for Lake Tekapo. Taking a look at tomorrow's weather, we are seeing a very hot day, windy though, so northerly winds could be quite strong for you Timaru in the afternoon, 21 degree high there, could be a few showers in the afternoon as well. Taking a look at Ashburton now, so you could be a little bit of sogginess, just quite brief through the afternoon for you as well, 22 degrees is your high. The Garden City, beautiful and hot with a very windy day, 21 degrees there and 8 for that overnight low. Kaikoura, gusty winds for you as well, 20 degree high there with northerly winds and 9 for that morning start. Checking out the rest of the Canterbury region for your Friday, we are seeing these northwesterlies for you Twizel, 22 degrees for your high there and northerlies for everyone else. Central Canterbury, make sure you don't get blown over by that wind. We're seeing those northerly winds quite strong, 18 degrees is the high for Akaroa and Leeston, 20 for you Methven. Heading further north, that really warm trend, windy and warm trend is seen here as well. Northwesterly winds there for Hamner Springs and Culverden on 21 degrees, 18 for you Cheviot and Oxford, 20. Over to the Alpine region, 18 for Lake Tekapo and 17 for Mount Cook. A little bit of drizzle expected in the afternoon as well. Checking out the weekend, we are seeing quite a nice weekend. However, on Saturday afternoon, we are seeing a bit of a southerly change, a few showers coming through potentially, but still quite mild highs there. Flipping over to Sunday, beautiful blue skies in store. Yay, it's what we like to see. Northeasterly winds for Christchurch and Timaru. And as we look ahead for the rest of the Canterbury region, we are seeing a beautiful fine morning on Saturday, with just those southerly winds coming through and the odd chance shower as well, but hopefully those showers just quite light and brief. On Sunday, pretty much everyone in the Canterbury region is seeing that beautiful sunshine. Northeasterly winds freshening up that afternoon, but a beautiful day to get outside if you can. So the next few days, Friday we're expecting it to be very hot, temperatures between the 20 and 23 degree mark. On Saturday and Sunday, Saturday we are seeing a little bit of rain in the afternoon, but Sunday beautifully hot and dry. That's your update for Thursday. Back to you, Jared.
Putting the sun in Sunday. Fantastic. Thanks so much for that, Mercy. And that's CTV News for Thursday. You can find all our stories and bulletins on demand at ctv.co.nz. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jared McCulloch. Have a great evening.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.